Good morning. Here in this session, we will discuss a single phase semi converter. This single phase semi converter is also called as a half controlled converter. We can either call it as semi converter or we can call it as half controlled converter as well. As the name suggests, there will be half number of switching devices. In a full controlled bridge configuration converter, we use 4 thyristors T1, T2, T3 and T4. That means in case of semi converter or half control converter, we will use only 2 thyristors T1 and T2. The rest of the thyristors will be replaced by diodes, uncontrolled devices. So we will have thyristor T1 and T2 and we will have diodes D1 and D2. So there will be 2 thyristors and 2 diodes. In some cases, we can use an additional diode called as freewheeling diode as well. So what is the use of freewheeling diode, whether it is required or not, we will analyze it in this lecture. You can see in this figure that we have a supply, single phase AC supply, which is connected to load, that is RLE in nature, and the intermediate circuit here in this case is a semi converter. We have 2 thyristors and 3 diodes, including the freewheeling diode. Now, to analyze the function of freewheeling diode, here in this case we are assuming that, let us suppose the freewheeling diode is not connected yet. Freewheeling diode is absent, it is not connected, and we are, if you observe our waveform, then this waveform is VAB is Vm sin omega t and VBA is minus Vm sin omega t, opposite of Vm sin omega t. We will have both these voltages in our output side, hence we have Vm sin omega t as well as minus Vm sin omega t both in our waveform. At an angle alpha, now alpha, as we have already discussed, that alpha should be greater than theta 1. Theta 1 is that angle beyond which the magnitude of AC voltage, this magnitude of AC voltage becomes greater than the magnitude of capital E. This is at the intersection point of Vm sin omega t and capital E. So beyond this time instant, beyond this angle, we can choose our firing angle alpha, as the thyristor is forward biased. Before this angle, the thyristor will be reversed biased, hence we cannot trigger our thyristor before omega t is equal to theta. Okay. Now, so we have triggered our thyristor at omega t is equal to alpha. Thyristor that we have triggered here is thyristor T1. So T1 gets short circuited. The load current will flow through the supply. It will pass through thyristor T1. It will go towards the load and it will flow through, B terminal is connected through diode D1. It will flow through diode D1 and the circuit will be completed. So conduction, when the supply is positive, that means from alpha to pi, the conduction will occur through thyristor T1 and diode D1. Thyristor T1 and diode D1. Okay. And what will happen after this time instant omega t is equal to pi? After this instant omega t is equal to pi, you can see that just after omega t is equal to pi, what happens that the supply becomes negative. T1 was still conducting because the current through thyristor is still finite, still positive. Current has not become zero, so thyristor is not commutated. This thyristor can commutate if its current becomes zero. That means if the current flowing through thyristor T1 gets diverted through thyristor T2. But can this current divert through thyristor T2? The answer is no, because thyristor T2 is not yet triggered. We will trigger our thyristor at a later angle, pi plus alpha. So between pi and pi plus alpha, T2 is not fired. So T1 is yet not commutated. T1 will continue to conduct. Okay. And if T1 is continuing to conduct, and because of this changed polarity, what happens is that diode D2 gets forward biased. Instead of diode D1, now diode D2 gets forward biased. So this whole leg consisting of thyristor T1 and diode D2, this gets short circuited. Since the leg gets short circuited, the load voltage V0 becomes 0. You will see that there is no voltage in this case. And whatever energy is stored in the load inductance will get dissipated in the resistance through this short circuit branch. Now this action is same as freewheeling action. We can observe that this action is same as freewheeling action, but it is not happening due to a physical freewheeling diode, but it is happening to our thyristor and diode conducting in the converter. This is called as a virtual freewheeling. This is happening due to thyristor T1 and diode D2. So this freewheeling portion is through thyristor T1 and diode D2. Okay. Between omega t is equal to alpha to pi, the load current was flowing through the supply. The component of current was having steady state as well as transient components, as we have seen in earlier cases. And in this freewheeling portion, that is between omega t is equal to pi and omega t is equal to pi plus alpha, in this freewheeling action, since the supply is now disconnected, since the load is short circuited, there is no current flowing through the supply. The current is freewheeling in this loop designed in the circuit, outer loop. Since supply is disconnected, the nature of current will be transient only, a exponential I0 expression we will get. And since there is no source available, the current will decrease. It will decrease according to the value of resistance and inductance connected in this case. Okay. So thyristor T1 is conducting when current is flowing through supply to load, and the freewheeling action is being occurring through thyristor T1 and diode D2. Here in this case we cannot analyze exactly thyristor T1 current, because here we have used a freewheeling diode. This waveform is including the freewheeling diode. We will come to this point later. First let us complete our waveform. Till now we had one half cycle. Now at an angle pi plus alpha, what we do is that now we trigger our thyristor T2. Okay, because T2 is now forward biased. So at this instant, all the current flowing through thyristor T1 will get diverted towards thyristor T2, because T1 is reverse biased and T2 is forward biased. And we know that D2 was already conducting because supply is negative. Since the supply is negative, D2 is already conducting. So in this case, the load current will flow through thyristor T2, diode D2, and it will flow through supply like this. So you can see that IS current is reversed. IS current, supply current is reversed, but the load current I0 is still positive. The direction of load current is not reversing. So whether it is positive half cycle or it is negative half cycle, the load current will be positive only. The direction of current is not reversing. So exactly same as first half cycle, the load current will be in second half cycle as well. Okay. T2 and D2 will conduct till omega t is equal to 2 pi till this instant, and between 2 pi and 2 pi plus alpha, again freewheeling action will occur. This freewheeling action will be, you can see that T2 is conducting, and just after 2 pi, just after instant 2 pi, the supply is again positive. That means diode D1 will get conducted, will get short circuited. Now the short circuiting will be through thyristor T2 and diode D1. The load current will flow through this path. So the first freewheeling action was occurring through thyristor T1 and diode D2, and the second freewheeling action is occurring through thyristor T2 and diode D1. Okay. Now the question is that if the freewheeling action is occurring in this circuit, why we require a physical freewheeling diode? You can see that we have connected a physical freewheeling diode in this case. There is a reason behind this. If you analyze your waveform, then T1 and D1 was conducting till omega t is equal to alpha to omega t is equal to pi, and the freewheeling action was through thyristor T1 and diode D2. So T1 was conducting in this portion also, and T1 is conducting in this portion also. So the total conduction time of thyristor T1 is from alpha to pi plus alpha. That means it is conducting till total time angle pi. Okay, and same will be true for thyristor T2 as well. So for first 180 degree thyristor T1 will conduct, and for next 180 degree thyristor T2 will conduct. Okay, T1 and T2 both are conducting for complete 180 degrees. Just when T1 is being commutated, T2 is triggered, T1 gets commutated, and vice versa. Unless one thyristor gets triggered, the previous thyristor cannot get commutated. So both thyristors will be conducting for a total angle of 180 degree each. Now if we have connected a freewheeling diode, then let us see what happens. We have a freewheeling diode in this case. Now we have triggered our thyristor at an angle alpha. Current was flowing through thyristor T1 and diode D1 like this till omega t is equal to pi. Soon after omega t is equal to pi, what happens? Just after omega t is equal to pi, this polarity becomes reversed. T1 was already conducting, so this polarity becomes negative. and D1 was conducting, so this polarity becomes positive. So this freewheeling diode will get short circuited, it will be forward biased. So now a freewheeling action will take place through this freewheeling diode only. The load will be short circuited, the voltage across load will be 0, whether it is physical short circuiting or it is through converter circuit switching devices, that is T1 D2 or T2 D1. So however the freewheeling action is being taken place, the load voltage in each case will be 0, because a short circuit means 0 voltage. So there will be no voltage across the load. And you can see that freewheeling action, since it is happening, this total circuit gets disconnected and the current is flowing through the freewheeling diode only. So since all the current through thyristor T1 is now diverted through freewheeling diode, the thyristor T1 will get commutated. So at what instant thyristor T1 is being commutated? It gets commutated just at omega t is equal to pi. In previous case, it was conducting till pi plus alpha unless T2 was triggered. And in this case, even before T2 is triggered, T1 gets commutated. So thyristor T1 has a relaxed time. It is not conducting for full 180 degree. It is conducting only between alpha and pi. That means the conduction angle is pi minus alpha and conduction time is pi minus alpha by omega. This is less than, if we talk in terms of angle, then it is less than 180 degrees. If you are triggering our thyristor at 30 degree, then the thyristor is conducting only for 150 degrees. So the thyristor is getting additional 30 degree time that will be added in circuit time of thyristor. Thyristor will have an additional 30 degree. In this duration, you can see that the supply voltage is negative. The CRT1 will be reverse biased. So this additional 30 degree will get added in our circuit time. So thyristor will have more circuit time if we are using a physical freewheeling diode, because thyristor T1 is getting commutated at an earlier angle. Without freewheeling diode, the thyristor T1 was being commutated at pi plus alpha, and with freewheeling diode, the thyristor is getting commutated at pi instant only. Same will be true for thyristor T2 also. Okay. So in previous case, both thyristors were conducting for angle pi, and in this case, both thyristors will be conducting for angle pi minus alpha. And there will be no change in load voltage or load current, whether we are using freewheeling diode or we are not using freewheeling diode. In both cases, our waveform will remains the same. A change you can see in thyristor IT1 current. Thyristor is now conducting only from angle alpha to angle pi. So the load current that is between angle alpha and between pi, this will be thyristor IT1 current. And between pi and pi plus alpha, the current is flowing through freewheeling diode. Okay. If we add both these two, we will get, if we talk about supply current, the supply current is flowing till thyristor T1 is conducting. So IS will be flowing through thyristor T1. In the freewheeling action, the supply is disconnected. So IS current will be 0 when the freewheeling action is being taking place. Okay. And in negative half cycle, next half cycle, we have observed that the supply current IS is reversing. Is was negative. So Is in this case will be negative of I naught. In first half cycle, Is is same as I naught, and in negative half cycle, Is is negative of I naught. I naught remains positive in all the cases, whether thyristor T1 D1 are conducting or thyristor T2 D2 are conducting, whatever be the case, I naught current will remain, the direction of I naught current will remain unchanged. Okay. So if we want to draw the waveform for thyristor VT1, we can analyze it between alpha and pi. Between alpha and pi, the thyristor was conducting, therefore its voltage was 0. But the doubt is between pi and pi plus alpha. What happens is between pi and pi plus alpha, since the freewheeling action is being taken place, this total voltage is 0, and since the total voltage this is 0, since V naught is 0, this whole leg will also have 0 voltage. So T1 D2 and T2 D1 will also have 0 voltage. Hence T1 voltage is 0. And when T2 is conducting, when T2 and D2 are conducting, when T2 is conducting and when D2 is conducting, that means through this path, what happens is that the thyristor T1, this gets reversed biased because of negative supply voltage. So VT1 will be same as minus Vm sin omega t till there is next freewheeling action. In this next freewheeling action, again the thyristor voltages will be 0. Similarly, we can draw voltage for thyristor T2 also. Okay. So if we calculate the circuit time of thyristor, you can observe that thyristor negative voltage is between angle, circuit time is between, if you analyze it, it is between pi plus alpha and between 2 pi. So this is pi minus alpha. This is pi minus alpha. We have not written, we have written the circuit time. You can see that circuit time is pi minus alpha. If we mention it in terms of time, we will have to divide it by omega. Okay. Now, load voltage, we can simply integrate Vm sin omega t from alpha to pi, because the load voltage is only between alpha and pi, and by integration we can find out the average voltage. Here we will divide it by pi, because the first cycle, the cycle being repeated is from 0 to pi. So we will divide it by pi and we will get Vm by pi into 1 plus cos alpha. Okay. Similarly, we can calculate our RMS voltage, and RMS voltage will be in this form. Now, if we compare our semi converter with full wave converter, then we have expression for full wave converter was 2 Vm by pi into cos alpha, and expression for load voltage, average load voltage for semi converter is Vm by pi into 1 plus cos alpha. 2 Vm by pi upon cos alpha can become negative. We have drawn this. This is 2 Vm by pi into cos alpha. This can be negative. But Vm by pi into 1 plus cos alpha, this cannot be negative. So, half control converter voltage range is this, from 0 to 2 Vm by pi. This value is 2 Vm by pi, and the range for full control converter is between plus 2 Vm by pi to minus 2 Vm by pi. Okay. So based on our requirement, if we want a negative voltage, then we will use a full control converter, and if we want a positive voltage always, then we will be using a semi converter. So simply you can check that we know that the load current is always positive. So a full control converter is a 2 quadrant operation, and a semi control converter is a 1 quadrant operation. This was our discussion about semi converter. For your reference, here we have a simple numerical on semi converter. You can easily solve this. We have assumed that the load current here is inductance is so high that the load current is always constant. Current is not changing. We have not drawn figure in this case, but we can see that the load is RLE and L is very large. L is very large, so that the load current is constant in this case. So we have the expression for waveform for load voltage that is existing between alpha and pi. We have seen just the expression for load voltage will be Vm by pi into 1 plus cos alpha. By this expression we can find out the average output voltage. We have put all these values. We have AC voltage, we have firing angle. We can put our angle and we can solve for average output voltage. What about average output current? Now we know that the V0 voltage is equal to E plus I naught R, because the average voltage is not existing across the inductance. We have already discussed in previous cases that in one cycle the initial current and final current value of current is same. There is no net change in current, and because the net change in current is 0, the average voltage across inductor will be 0. So E plus I naught R at the load side will be equal to total V0. We have just calculated the value of V0. We know E, that means we can calculate I0 in this case. Okay. And if we calculate for ISR, that is supply side RMS current, so we know that the supply current will flow only when the thyristor is conducting between alpha to pi. The only difference is that the nature of current is constant. So if we take the RMS value of this current, we can easily find out RMS current. The RMS current is given as I0 multiplied by pi minus alpha by pi under root. We know how to calculate the RMS value of such waveforms. And power delivered to load is power dissipated in resistance is I0 square multiplied by R, and power delivered in DC EMF, that is for charging of battery, this will be E multiplied by I0. So if we put all the values, we will get the power dissipated in the load. We have to find input power factor. That means we now have to find the input volt ampere. Input volt ampere is supply input volt RMS into input current RMS. Input voltage RMS is 230 and input current RMS we have calculated earlier, that is 8.5. If you multiply both, we will get input volt ampere. So ratio of output power delivered to input volt ampere, if we divide both these two, we will get a power factor, that is called as input power factor, which is lagging in this case because of inductance in our load circuit. That is all in single phase semi converter according to your syllabus. Thank you.